The story begins at the bottom of a dungeon, where countless hunters lie dead on the floor surrounded by pools of blood. One of the few still alive is Jooheon, who grips his sword as it drips with his own blood, while facing a massive green-scaled dragon. The moment he makes a run for it, the dragon lunges after him, eager to take a bite. Jooheon backflips onto its back, uses it as a stepping stone, and attacks from above. However, his sword gets caught between the dragon's teeth. He manages to rip it free and swing again, but his sword swings do absolutely nothing, and he falls to the ground. He starts running once more, and the dragon charges after him again. This time, Jooheon kicks off a wall and rushes straight at the monster head-on. However, the dragon senses the powerful energy coming from his sword and smacks him away with its tail before he can strike, sending him crashing into the wall. Even after coughing up a mouthful of blood, Jooheon still manages to dodge the dragon's bite, leaving the beast wide open. He channels a supernatural aura into his sword and drives it straight into the dragon's thick skull. The blade pierces through, but it instantly snaps in half, and the shockwave throws him backward. The dragon quickly recovers and chomps down on his legs midair, so Jooheon repeatedly stabs it with the broken remains of his sword until it finally lets go. However, the dragon slams him into the ground and chews his legs up. The unbearable pain makes him mad at how unfair the fight is, and he furiously curses Kwon Tae-joon. His mind flashes back to the moment Tae-joon ordered him to make the mission a success in exchange for a reward he supposedly would never regret. One look at the piles of dead hunters everywhere makes it obvious that the mission ended in complete disaster. Jooheon desperately reaches for his sword, while the dragon prepares to devour what is left of him. Even then, he declares that he refuses to die without putting up one last fight like a loser. As the dragon's jaws close in, reality finally sinks in that he is about to die at the age of 38. Right then, time suddenly freezes around him, and a mysterious voice mocks him out of nowhere. While Jooheon struggles to understand what is happening, the voice asks if he can hear it. Jooheon yells back that he can hear all relics, and orders the relic to help him kill the oversized lizard and get him out of there. The mysterious voice laughs at his cocky attitude and asks how he plans to escape without the lower half of his body. Even if it slays the dragon for him, he can't exactly leave on his own. The mysterious voice mocks him by asking if he plans on crawling his way out of the dungeon and tells him that he is lucky to have survived for this long. It says that this is a pitiful ending for someone who possesses such pure raw talent and suggests that he might have been born in the wrong era. As she continues mocking him by saying that he will never be able to fully use his abilities, Jooheon argues that it knows nothing about him. With anger burning in his eyes, the man insists that he does not want to live like this, and that all he wants is revenge on Tae-joon by finishing him off once and for all. The mysterious voice replies that it would be a waste to let someone with such talent die. And just then a blinding light suddenly appears, followed by a four-eyed crow. The crow turns out to be a relic and tells our man that it is going to give him one more chance to see if he can truly claim the king's throne this time around. Just then, Jooheon is struck by a beam of light from the mysterious crow relic, and his body immediately starts regenerating. His bones, muscles, clothes, and even his shoes are all restored to their previous condition, and he suddenly finds himself sitting on a chair. He quietly says to himself that it would have made more sense for an eagle to lend him a hand instead of a crow. However, based on his experience, the guy figures that the relic has to be at least a deity class one. The moment Jooheon lays eyes on his fully restored lower limbs, he jumps to his feet in complete shock. However, after looking around in every direction, he realizes that he is inside a police station, where a rude rich lady is asking an officer to interrogate him and get justice for her child. The officer asks our boy for his name, but Jooheon is far too spaced out to say anything. He calmly sits back down, trying to figure out what has just happened, while the officers continue asking him who he is. Just when one of the officers mentions that it is the new year of 2025, Jooheon is left completely stunned. After thinking it over for a moment, he finally realizes that he has actually regressed 15 years into the past, and that the talking crow relic was not joking at all. A smile slowly appears on his face, but it quickly disappears when the rude lady keeps trying to force him into pleading guilty. After taking a careful look at both her and her son, Jooheon remembers that this exact incident has already happened before. Back then, her son had been the one bullying him before suddenly collapsing on his own. Yet his mother still dragged Jooheon to the police station. He tries to remember how the matter was settled that time and recalls that he was forced to pay an outrageous amount of money and even had to get down on his knees. Just as the lady is about to slap him, our hero's hand moves on its own and stops her. At first, he cannot even believe it himself. But then he stands up and tells her that her son is the one who should be blamed for starting the whole incident. Just then, her son rushes toward him to attack. But Jooheon immediately acts in self-defense and pins him to the ground with just a few quick moves. Jooheon realizes that he has somehow retained all the combat skills he gained over those 15 years, even though he has not been affected by relic syndrome yet in this life. He becomes excited by the realization. However, the rich lady uses her influence and has the officers throw our guy behind bars. She keeps going on about how she will settle the matter in court now. But Jooheon is not worried at all because once the relics appear, this entire world is going to turn into a wasteland. Jooheon remembers that in 2025, the world was hit by massive earthquakes, and tombs filled with divine relics from legends, folklore, and famous novels suddenly appeared all across Earth. The greater a relic's history, the stronger it becomes, and the people who obtained relics gained incredible power, which they used to hunt down even more relics. The first relic Jooheon discovered was an archaeologist relic, and he believed its knowledge of hidden tombs and relics would help him escape his dead-end life. However, that dream quickly fell apart because TKBM placed security around the tombs to keep commoners away. At that time, Chairman Kwon of TKBM and other powerful relic holders made it almost impossible for ordinary people to hunt for relics. Jooheon was lucky that the power of his relic was recognized, and Chairman Kwon recruited him to handle all the dirty work. From smuggling and theft to raiding dangerous tombs, he even broke into government-controlled tombs to steal their relics and helped Kwon Tae-jun's rise to wealth and power. He remembers the time two men mocked him as Chairman Kwon's corporate dog. They said he was worthless without his chairman and should stop acting so cocky. Even so, Jooheon accepted being treated like a dog and endured every insult. But he still got betrayed in the end. He knows the law becomes meaningless once relics appear. Even though strength matters, strength alone is never enough, and no one gets far without the money needed to excavate tombs. Right then, he sees the title Tomb Raider Jooheon floating before him and assumes he is imagining things. After that, another line of text appears to mock him, making him realize it is coming from that crow relic. He immediately yells at the crow-looking thing to stop spying on him and show itself. Instead, another window pops up to tell him he has an F-rank spy skill. That makes Jooheon furious because the crow is treating his life like some dumb game. Then another message appears, showing him a quest to awaken the 4 dormant talents of a Tomb Raider hidden inside him so he can become a true Tomb Raider. While he is busy getting angry at the quest, a guard walks over and tells him to calm down. That makes Jooheon realize he is the only one who can actually see the status windows. After he notices that, he spots a tiny bug 1 meter away, crystal clear, just like he could with his archaeologist relic, even though he no longer has it. He also notices that the relics now appear inside the status windows, and he needs to find 3 out of the 4 listed there. Jooheon wonders what the crow's real goal is because there is no way relics would ever want humans to be happy. Just then, a man with a huge grin calls out his name. Outside the police station, the man congratulates Jooheon on getting released because the high school student he punched turned out to be a repeat offender. He promises the brat will finally end up behind bars where he belongs. Jooheon thanks Detective Jinwoo, leaving the man so surprised that he asks if Jooheon hit his head because normally he would never say thank you. The detective jokes that maybe the scary jail cell knocked some sense into him. Jooheon smiles the moment he sees the one and only person who truly took care of him, wanting to find out whether the relics have already appeared in this world. Jooheon asks the man if there have been any strange incidents, like someone getting possessed by a monster or suddenly gaining psychic powers out of nowhere. Detective Jinwoo tells the boy that he should be asking psycho questions like that instead, while playfully thinking that his wife would probably be able to answer them. He jokingly teases her while complaining about how the lady somehow always manages to find the money he hides. Jooheon quietly confirms that the relic users have not appeared yet. And after that, the two go their separate ways. As he walks through a narrow alley, he starts thinking about how he is going to survive while being completely broke because he will need money to travel to the places where the relics are going to appear first. Just then, a group of thugs shows up, and the moment Jooheon sees them, he smirks as he realizes they could become an easy source of cash. He remembers Park Kyun-tae, a former gangster who runs a small art gallery together with his older sister, Kyung-ju, in his previous life. Because the poor Jooheon desperately needed money, he had no choice but to work part-time for these thugs. where they constantly bullied him and made him go through all kinds of trouble just to earn a miserable salary. However, in this life, Jooheon decides to change everything. The moment one of the thugs tries to attack him, the guy gets beaten up badly instead. Jooheon sends him flying with a powerful punch, frightening the rest of the group, before telling them to pass along the message that he is quitting his work with them and that they also need to clear all of his unpaid dues. The bullies burst into laughter, and then their boss charges straight at Jooheon, only to get beaten up badly and end up with a bleeding nose. The remaining three are almost scared to the point of wetting their pants as they watch a hopeless loser beating all of them up. Even so, they decide that the only way to win is by attacking him together and overwhelming him with numbers. Their pathetic attempt completely fails, and the three of them end up getting beaten just as badly with a series of punches and kicks. While one of them cries out in pain over his poor nose, Jooheon smiles, but he suddenly notices that his hand is no longer keeping up with all the fighting, making it clear that he still needs to train his body so it can match the combat skills he has retained. Just then, the boss of the bullies pulls out a blade relic. The blonde bully immediately starts feeling sorry for Jooheon, worrying that the boss might actually end up murdering him, and suggests that he really should not use that weapon. The moment Jooheon sees the blade, he remembers that there are rogue relics which secretly slip into the human world from outside the tombs, and this must be one of them. However, he does not seem worried at all. Instead, when the boss comes charging at him with the blade, Jooheon simply smiles because he has already decided that he is going to take the relic for himself. The boss charges at him and wildly swings his blade like a maniac, but Jooheon easily deflects every strike before locking his arm, and he elbows him in the gut. Then he grabs the guy's arm, points the blade relic at his neck to threaten the rest of his goons. After he takes the relic for himself, he activates it to show them how it is really used. The relic boosts his speed and allows him to see inside the enemy's body. He kicks the boss aside and rushes the thugs so fast they barely take a single step before realizing he is already behind them, and they have already been stabbed. Jooheon dares anyone else to step up, but the three of them stay completely silent. Later, the art gallery president who hired them is furious after hearing Jooheon beat them so easily and refuses to accept their pathetic excuse. However, the gang's boss swears he saw it in Jooheon's eyes that he is a completely different person now. Hearing that, the woman demands he explain exactly what they lost. When the unlucky boss admits he lost the Buddha statue along with all their bank balance, she screams at the useless idiot to get everything back. Meanwhile, Jooheon finds it strange that no pawn shop is willing to buy the Buddha statue for even a few $100 because they all think it is worthless. Even so, he is confident it is genuine since the boss was terrified to hand it over. Right then, he receives a message from his spy skill detecting something strange inside the statue. So he cracks open the bottom with his blade relic, and a small vial rolls out. At that moment, Jooheon realizes what it is and figures out this is not something to sell off at a shop. Instead, he immediately calls Detective Jinwoo. Back at the gallery, the woman apologizes to her chairman just as the gang's boss is brought in by two detectives, who reveal they received a tip about a drug operation. The woman argues that her humble art gallery only deals in paintings, so the detective presents the evidence and explains they already got a confession that the rest of the supply is hidden inside a warehouse. Hearing that, the woman cannot believe they discovered the warehouse, but she knows they still do not have the password needed to enter. She plays innocent, and just as she accuses them of abusing their police authority without proof, the other detective receives a message confirming they have seized 600 paintings with drugs hidden inside every one. With that, she is immediately placed in handcuffs and struggles to believe the police managed to open every storage room despite each one having a different password. Detective Jinwoo smiles before he hands her the phone. On the other end, she hears Jooheon tell her this is payback for a life of crime, and reminds her it is important to change passwords often no matter how annoying it is. With that, the she-devil curses him as she is taken away to jail. Later that night, Jooheon happily strolls through the streets when Detective Jinwoo tells him he has received a reward of 100 million for helping bust the drug operation. Now that he finally has money, Jooheon decides to seriously begin searching for a tomb the next day. However, his eyes go wide in shock when he sees a tomb has appeared where his house used to be. While the general public panics over the appearance of the strange tomb, Jooheon wonders whether he should consider it a sign of good luck or bad luck. Just then, a CIA agent named Linda Walker arrives, and Jooheon overhears her telling someone over the phone that the government knows absolutely nothing about the tomb. While she is busy discussing plans to blow it up with explosives, Rui Kenshi from the Republic of Ben's excavation team suddenly appears and catches her by surprise. As the two argue over who is going to claim the relic, Jooheon realizes that neither of them has any idea how to properly deal with a tomb since they are actually considering destroying it with explosives. Jooheon becomes excited, and at that moment he notices the tomb glyphs. He immediately realizes that they are the language of the relics, which he can use to avoid the traps and locate the true entrance. He walks toward the center and begins reading the inscriptions. Just then, the system notifies him that he has unlocked the expert cryptographer skill along with a linguistics skill. He silently thanks the crow, believing it is responsible for this, and realizes that he now only needs to unlock 2 more skills. He then locates the entrance and uses his relic to activate it. This releases a blinding light that immediately causes a huge commotion. Linda and Rui refuse to be left behind and begin sprinting toward the entrance before jumping inside. Meanwhile, Jooheon has already ventured deep into the tomb and lights his lighter to see through the darkness. He soon reaches a water source where he tosses his blade into the water and is greeted by a giant Great Lake serpent. The Great Serpent presents him with a gold knife and a silver knife before asking which one belongs to him. The moment Jooheon sees them, he becomes certain that the relic hidden inside this tomb is the gold and silver axe, based on the famous tale of Hermes and the woodcutter. He knows that almost anyone could clear this tomb with ease, since all one needs is to speak the truth. But there is one important detail that only he knows. With complete confidence, he tells the Great Serpent that neither of those blades belongs to him. The Great Serpent is surprised to see that he is an honest guy. So this time it shows Jooheon his original relic. However, while Jooheon knows he will get all 3 weapons if he says yes, he first demands to check whether it really is his blade. The Great Serpent agrees, but right when it least expects it. Jooheon slashes mouth and declares he does not trust a monster because there is no guarantee clearing the trial will actually earn him the reward. Besides, he remembers the incident from America where the gold and silver blades manipulated their user into becoming a serial murderer. With that said, Jooheon sidesteps the Great Serpent's attack and leaps into the air to take the monster down. He spins through the air as the serpent charges straight at him and drives his blade deep into its head. Even though Jooheon yells at it to submit, the Great Serpent refuses to obey a weakling. Jooheon does not mind because he plans to force it into submission with his dominant skill, causing the monster to repeatedly smash its head into the walls in an attempt to throw him off. Jooheon knows affinity is the ability to persuade relics to work with the master, while dominance relies on raw charisma and aura to force relics into obedience. Adaptability, on the other hand, measures the strength of the bond between a master and relic. So a musician's connection to an instrument relic is strong. Because of Jooheon's weak charisma, the Great Serpent refuses to submit and even goes as far as to drown him. The monster continues to struggle until it returns to the surface and yells at him to give up. But Jooheon swears he will dominate it because he refuses to settle for symbiosis in his new life. He gives the monster a simple choice to either submit or die. Hearing that, the Great Serpent finally gives up, causing its body to shed golden scales and melt into water before transforming into the gold and silver axes. Jooheon is thrilled to see his shiny new weapons, and receives a message that his basic skill tomb excavation has been activated, which improves his understanding of tombs. He also gains the title Relic Abuser, which increases dominance at the cost of lower affinity, making him furious at that crow rascal. Suddenly, he hears Linda and Rui excitedly saying they found the lake from the prophecy, so he quickly hides while the excited guy throws his bottle into the water, expecting the relic to appear. Jooheon laughs at the fool for being too slow and quietly leaves while Rui is confused about why the relic is not appearing like the prophecy said it would. Linda is surprised to learn that the Japanese have people who use relics of prophecy to predict the future, leaving Rui annoyed that he accidentally revealed a state secret to her. Just then, the entire tomb begins to crumble, forcing the two to run for the exit to save their lives. Back at the gallery, the thugs are disappointed to find there is nothing left inside the art gallery, and they have no work now that the president has been arrested. Their blonde leader, Kureha Noboru, curses Jooheon because he is the reason they are now jobless, and swears he will not let him get away with it. His underling quickly hypes him up, insisting the boss will definitely beat some sense into that Jooheon rascal. Just as the boss, Noboru, is busy bragging about how awesome he is, he suddenly receives a call from Jooheon and panics so badly that he trips over. He quickly gets back on his feet and answers the call. Although he tries to act tough, he fails miserably and ends up being forced to run an errand for Jooheon instead. Meanwhile, Rui receives a call from his team and learns that another prophecy has appeared, revealing that the person who beat them to the relic is a Japanese man. Rui regrets that such an important detail was left out by the future guide Relic. Meanwhile, Jooheon is briefing his new employees about their next assignment. He tells them about Midas, the largest auction house in Las Vegas, and explains that their mission is to locate a few specific items along with gathering information on a man named Jack Kamen, which is the alias used by a man named Ogawara. Noboru complains about how he is supposed to travel all the way there, but Jooheon reassures him that he will be paid well for the job, since Noboru's only other option is getting beaten to death by Jooheon. He has no choice but to accept the task. After finishing all the preparations, our guy heads off to hunt another tomb. Just then, he notices a news broadcast reporting that a murderer has ended his life before getting caught. Jooheon immediately recalls that the same thing happened before the appearance of a new tomb. A moment later, he ends up bumping into Rui, who gets irritated by the collision. Jooheon recognizes the man from the excavation team and senses a relic on him, noticing that the amateur is not even trying to hide its aura. At first, Jooheon acts as if he is simply walking away without apologizing for bumping into him. But then he suddenly spills his drink all over Rui, throwing him into a panic. Amid the commotion, Jooheon quietly steals the relic while Rui is busy shouting about being compensated for ruining his expensive clothes. Jooheon then picks up the man's ID, making Rui worry because he cannot let anyone discover who he really is. Before Rui can even realize that his relic has been stolen, a powerful earthquake strikes, making it clear that another tomb has manifested. Jooheon uses the confusion to escape, while Rui smiles to himself, believing that the prophecy is finally coming true. Just then, Rui receives another call and learns of a new prophecy stating that the Japanese man with the gold and silver axe is somewhere nearby, and that he should be careful around alcohol for some strange reason. Hearing that, the clueless guy finally realizes that the Japanese man he has been searching for is Jooheon, the very person he just bumped into. Inside the tomb, a violent earthquake erupts as the ground splits apart, and thousands of sword blades burst from under the earth. Golden pillars of light appear everywhere, pulling in everyone around the tomb, including Jooheon and the nearby civilians. As he dusts himself off, he realizes the only tomb filled with katanas must be Muramasa's tomb. The Japanese swordsmith from the Sengoku period was famous for forging the legendary Muramasa blades. However, one of those swords was later used by a samurai to murder 3 generations of his own family, turning it into the cursed Muramasa blade that eventually wiped out an entire clan. The tomb is extremely hostile toward humans, and Jooheon feels its cursed aura burning his arm as the system warns him to wear protection. Seeing that, Jooheon decides to speedrun the tomb and tells Muramasa to wait for him. A few moments later, he is already drowning in sweat after running through a tomb that is much bigger than expected. But he grits his teeth and keeps moving. Muramasa's tomb is so massive that even the gold axe cannot detect the relic's location. Jooheon believes Rui already knew that, so he realizes he should have followed the agent instead. Just as he worries the agent might reach the relic before him, he hears a woman screaming nearby. He rushes over and finds a crowd gathered around a giant pit where a crazed high school girl holding a knife attacks innocent people. Jooheon immediately realizes she is under the knife relic's influence, and anyone she cuts will also go insane and foam at the mouth like her. Right then, he notices a bridge only appears whenever someone is offered as a sacrifice into the pit, so he asks the trapped people who pushed them down and whether it was some Japanese guy. The frightened bystanders confirm the man was singing a creepy song in his language when the giant pit suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He then forced them inside before disappearing. Jooheon is relieved he still has a chance to catch the agent and pulls out the relic he stole earlier after splashing the ugly middle-aged man with his drink and pretending to help wipe him dry. He removes the rope bracelet from the piece of machai sealed inside the glass and recognizes it as the Sister Sun and Brother Moon relic set. It comes from the story of a woman chased by a tiger demanding her machai, while the siblings escaped being eaten thanks to a rope from heaven. Right then, the system announces his new title, Petty Pickpocket, and unlocks the Tomb Raider skill Dexterity, which lets him learn new things faster, reduces relic exhaustion, and increases his success rate when stealing relics. With that, Jooheon now possesses all 4 basic skills, officially awakens as a true Tomb Raider, and will receive his reward once he leaves the tomb. Jooheon then jumps into the pit to save the people from the schoolgirl possessed by the relic. The girl immediately rushes at him, but Jooheon leaps into the air and parries every one of her attacks while wearing a confident smile. He easily forces her back before quickly using his newly acquired rope relic to bind her. The moment the rope wraps around her, she immediately regains her senses and collapses onto the ground. Jooheon then asks everyone there if they have seen a man from the Republic of Bent, while Jooheon wonders if Rui managed to learn about this place from the prophecy relic user. The schoolgirl gets back up and asks him to remove the rope. However, the rope relic seems to be in a playful mood and asks Jooheon to play with her instead. Jooheon tells the relic to come back, and it obediently folds itself around his arm. He then asks the people to help him find the man responsible for dragging them into this mess in exchange for getting them out of the tomb, even promising to take revenge on their behalf. Meanwhile, Rui arrives at the area where countless swords are buried and smiles after realizing he has found the place where the relic should be. He laughs to himself, believing he has already gotten rid of all the witnesses and now only needs to find Muramasa before leaving. He also cannot stop thinking about settling the score with the troublemaker once he gets his hands on the powerful relic. Rui laughs like a maniac before beginning his search for Muramasa among the countless swords. However, he spends a long time searching and fails miserably, as all he finds are broken swords. Just as he angrily throws one of the broken blades away, the witnesses he thought he had already gotten rid of come charging back for revenge. The crowd grabs the man by his collar, slams him onto the ground, and follows it up with a barrage of kicks. While taking the beating he deserves, the man looks at Jooheon and asks if he is the one behind all of this. Jooheon mocks him for having such a huge head start and still failing to find the relic. He then activates the gold axe relic and begins searching for Muramasa. After scanning the entire area, he locates the relic within seconds. He stretches out his hand, and the sword flies out of the ground straight into his grasp. The relic immediately starts talking, telling the boy to bathe it in the blood of 10 humans to restore it as the price for using its power. Muramasa explains that only human blood can repair it and warns Jooheon that refusing will leave him trapped here forever. As expected, Jooheon refuses without hesitation and uses his power on the blade, forcing it into submission. He makes the sword undergo its own trial by absorbing all of its broken copies. The blade literally screams in pain, but the process succeeds, and Jooheon obtains another relic for himself. Once he is finished, he uses the rope relic to help everyone climb out of the pit. Among the people making their way up, he spots Rui trying to quietly slip away and immediately catches him. Rui politely begs Jooheon to let him go and even promises to recommend him to his government. He tries to make the offer more tempting by explaining that he would be paid well and that the government even possesses the prophecy relic known as the Future Guide. Jooheon gets fed up with the nonsense coming from Rui's mouth, and he says only the owner can use the relic. So Rui quickly changes his offer to support him at the company he works for instead. Right then, the civilians inform Jooheon that everyone has made it out. So he asks one last question if Rui works for a company that supports excavation teams. Rui is surprised that he already knows about it, and reveals it is the TKBM Corporation. A nasty grin spreads across Jooheon's face as everything clicks into place. He grabs Rui and brutally kicks him in the gut, so hard that the guy drops to his knees and coughs up blood. After that, Jooheon happily climbs out on his rope and smugly tells Rui, who desperately begs him for help, to ask his precious TKBM Corporation he is so proud of to save him before he orders the tomb to seal itself. At that moment, giant rocks break away from the pit walls and gather at the center to crush Rui into pulp. Later, news of the strange structures that appeared after the earthquake spreads, and it is announced that all 50 people caught inside reported seeing swords burst out from the walls. One of the survivors also reports Rui's crimes, so the news anchor explains that the government is waiting for an official statement from Japan. At a meeting, the boss tears into his subordinate for messing up so badly that relics and tombs have become public knowledge, while their country takes heat all over the news. Excavation team leader Chu blames everything on the man from the prophecy, but the boss reminds him he was so confident he would remove the interferer. Chu apologizes and assures him his team will track the man with Future Guide's prophecies, which confuses the boss because they do not work on people the owner has never met. Chu explains that Rui already marked the target, and that mark will give his team a rough idea of his location. So he asks for one more chance to finish what he started. Later, Jooheon stands inside a bathroom stall and looks at the scar on his arm. He realizes he cannot keep using dominance like this because the backlash from forcing relics into submission only gets worse the stronger they are, and his body cannot keep enduring it forever. Right then, a message informs him he has left the tomb and earned the reward to choose between the path of dominance and the path of affinity. Jooheon is seriously disappointed that the crow still does not know him after all this time, and chooses dominance. After the message disappears, he waits for a moment, then looks all around the bathroom for the reward because he feels like nothing happened at all. Just then, he slips his hands into his pockets and pulls out a small white pearl that is supposed to be a consumable relic. He realizes he has no other choice but to trust it and gulps the bitter pill down in one go. Suddenly, the scar on his arm vanishes because he has gained the ability tolerance, which makes him immune to relic poison. Back at home, Jooheon is impressed by how ridiculously powerful the ability is and wonders if this was part of the crow's plan all along, right as he laughs at that idiot for making things so easy for him. A notification informs him that his future is being read by an S-grade relic. He remembers that Zhu Zilang's future guide is the S-grade relic that did not make a tomb and instead chose Sasaki Yuka as its owner. When the Japanese government discovered her relic, they offered her huge benefits in exchange for helping their excavation teams. However, Jooheon remembers that this wasn't a happy ending as it seems because the girl never bothered studying and was barely able to decipher the prophecy book's ancient language. Because of her shortcomings, she ultimately died at the hands of a stronger prophecy relic user. Later, while Yuka is watching TV, she is told that it is time for her to read the prophecy book. The young girl sits down at her desk and tries to read it. But just as Jooheon expected, she finds the ancient language extremely difficult to decipher. After struggling with it for a while, she suddenly screams and clings to the person in charge of looking after her. When he asks what happened, she says that the pages are filled with lines claiming that she is going to die. Sometime later, Jooheon is deliberately eating sushi in Hakata while wondering when the Republic of Bent's people are finally going to show up. He opens a notebook, and it turns out he has written that Sasaki will die all over its pages because he knows this will alert the future guide's user. As the relic never ignores threats directed at its owner, he wonders what the people hunting him are still waiting for. Meanwhile, just as he expected, the Republic of Bent's agents are already waiting outside with pistols, and they plan to send Yuka inside disguised as a waitress. Yuka nervously heads inside because she is about to face the very person who has come here specifically to murder her. The Republic of Bent's men reassure Yuka that all she has to do is look the guy in the eyes so the prophecy book can mark him. They also tell her that he most likely does not even know what she looks like. After being encouraged, Yuka finally gathers the courage and walks inside carrying the extra sushi. However, the very moment she lays eyes on Jooheon, she falls head over heels for him. Just as Jooheon reaches for his blade, the Republic's men grow worried and order the others to step in. But the love-struck girl shuts the door right in their faces. She then turns back and shyly asks the guy if he will let her become his fan. Jooheon wonders what is going on and even suspects it might be some kind of trap. But the moment he realizes that the girl actually wants to go out with him, he smiles, thinking this is the perfect opportunity to use the situation to his advantage. He tells her that he is willing to go drink boba tea with her as she wishes. The two then blast the door open, tie up all 3 Republic of Bent agents, and leave the place together. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen. I heard that you addicted to